15 vintage car features modern drivers would never understand. Today's cars are all about convenience. Touchscreens, parking cameras, even seats that give massages. But back in the day, cars were full of quirks. Modern drivers wouldn't know what to do with. Some features were clever, others were downright bizarre, but they all had personality. Let's take a ride through 15 vintage car features that made sense back then and would leave today's drivers totally puzzled. Number 1. Floor-mounted dimmer switches. Long before high beams moved to the steering column, drivers used their left foot to flip between low and high beams. A small metal button on the floor, usually near the clutch, controlled your headlights. It felt mechanical, responsive, and satisfying in a way modern switches don't replicate. Wet shoes often left a muddy print right on it, but nobody minded. You didn't need to lift a hand, just tap and keep driving. For anyone raised on steering wheel stalks, it would feel weird. But once it was second nature, and just when you thought starting the car was easy, there came another ritual modern drivers wouldn't recognize. Number 2. Manual chokes. Before fuel injection became the norm, cars required a bit of coaxing to start. That's where the manual choke came in. A little lever on the dash, usually plastic or chrome, had to be pulled just the right amount on cold mornings. You would wait for the engine to warm, then push it back in. Too fast and you'd stall. Every car had its own personality, and knowing yours was a badge of honor. Today's push-start systems feel like magic, but there was pride in doing it the hard way. Once you got the car running, the next challenge wasn't driving, it was staying cool without modern climate control. Next up is number 3. Vent windows. Small, triangular, and mounted at the front of the side windows, vent windows were simple yet brilliant. You'd push or crank them open for a breeze that didn't blast your hair off. Some even swung outward to scoop the air as you drove. They whistled a little at high speeds, but that sound was part of the charm. No AC? No problem. These were your built-in climate control. They added airflow, personality, and a sense of touch to driving that today's sealed cabins can't match. Airflow was one thing, but how you sat behind the wheel, that was a whole vibe of its own. Number 4. Bench seats. Before cup holders were in the center console, front bench seats turned your car into a living room on wheels. Stretching from door to door, they could fit 3 across or more if you were small. It wasn't about ergonomic support or lumbar zones. It was about closeness. Teenagers loved them, couples leaned in. Even shifting gears with a buddy squished next to you felt like part of the adventure. Safety-wise, they weren't ideal, but they created memories. No center divider meant no boundaries. It was just you, your passengers, and the road ahead. As cars became cozier, drivers needed to keep up with more than just comfort. Number 5. Crank windows. Before power windows took over, every car door had a little handle you had to crank by hand. Rolling the window down wasn't instant. It was an action. You grabbed the knob, spun it forward or backward, and felt every inch of the glass as it moved. If it was raining, you rolled like mad. If you just wanted a breeze, you eased it down slowly, letting the wind trickle in. Sometimes the handle squeaked. Sometimes it popped off completely. But that was part of the charm. It made you feel more in tune with the machine. No electronics, no sensors, just gears and your own muscle. It's a small detail, but one that added real character to even the shortest drive. And if you did roll it down, chances are there was one other thing nearby that made those old doors feel even more retro. Number 6. Ashtrays in every door. Old cars didn't come with USB ports, but they did come with ashtrays, lots of them. In the front, in the back, and in each door, there was usually a little pull-out tray with a metal insert and sometimes a tiny flip-up lid. Smoking was everywhere, so car interiors were built to accommodate it. But even in non-smoking families, those trays found new lives. They held coins, candy wrappers, stickers, or the occasional melted crayon. They smelled like old gum and gasoline and seemed to collect every piece of road trip clutter. Once you noticed those ashtrays, you also noticed another classic feature that's nearly extinct in today's cars, but once helped you literally light up the road ahead. Number 7. Pull knob headlights. Back then, headlights didn't come on automatically. There was no touchscreen or rotary dial. You reached for a chunky knob on the dashboard and pulled it. One click turned on your parking lights, another gave you headlights. Some knobs even twisted to turn on interior dome lights. It was a whole ritual. And if you forgot to push the knob back in when you parked, you'd return to a drained battery and an unplanned lesson in responsibility. There were no warning beeps, no reminders, just you, the knob, and your memory. Next to that pull knob, just inches away, sat something even more curious, another button waiting to heat up and surprise you. Number 8. Cigarette lighters that popped out. This one's a classic. You'd push in the lighter, wait for that satisfying click, and pull it out to reveal a glowing red coil. It wasn't just a cigarette lighter, it was a power move. Even if you didn't smoke, you knew better than to touch it. But the temptation was always there. Some kids used it to burn strings off jackets. Others just liked watching it heat up. It came standard in every car and was treated like a built-in science experiment. Today, that same port charges your phone. Back then, it waited to scorch your fingertip if you weren't careful. That little red ring brought danger into everyday life. Just ahead of it, perched proudly on the hood, was another attention grabber that drivers today rarely get to experience. Number 9. Hood ornaments. Before logos became subtle and flush with the hood, they used to stand tall. Hood ornaments were bold, flashy, and impossible to ignore. Whether it was a chrome swan, a leaping jaguar, or a flying goddess, these ornaments gave every car a sense of identity. They sparkled under streetlights and caught the sun during daytime drives. Sure, they eventually became theft magnets, but at the time, they were status symbols. You didn't need to open the door to know who made the car. The hood told you everything. While the ornament glinted outside, the real old-school tech was tucked away inside the glove box. Number 10. Glove box maps and paper manuals. Before GPS apps and touchscreen navigation, you relied on a stack of crinkled road maps. Pulling over at a gas station to double-check a route was normal, so was navigating by flashlight. Alongside those maps was the trusty owner's manual, thick, serious, and surprisingly informative. It showed you how to change a fuse, fix a light bulb, or decode every random beep your car made. A few receipts, a pen cap, maybe a gas station loyalty card. The glove box held it all. Not far from that little compartment was a gear shifter that looked nothing like the ones you see today. Number 11. Column shifters. If you didn't grow up with them, column shifters feel like a strange leftover from a bygone era. But for decades, they were just how things were done. You'd grab the long stalk on the steering column, pull it down into gear, and off you went. There was no leather boot or center console, just muscle memory and a few audible clicks. You could shift without ever taking your eyes off the road. Sure, they were phased out for sleeker designs, but column shifters made driving feel more hands-on. And for all the practicality they offered, cars of that time also knew how to show off on the outside. Number 12. Tailfins and two-tone paint jobs. If you wanted flash, Tailfins delivered. Sharp, dramatic, and unmistakably retro, they gave 50s and 60s cars the feel of jet-age rockets. Paint jobs came with contrast: mint green and white, cherry red and black, sky blue, and silver. These cars weren't just transportation. They were fashion statements. You could spot them from a block away and know instantly who had style. Today's cars focus on aerodynamics. These ones focused on presence. But even inside the cabin, little things had personality, including something as simple as a turn signal. Number 13. Turn signal click-clack relays. Modern indicators are quiet and forgettable, but older cars had something much more memorable: the loud, steady click-clack of a mechanical relay. That sound didn't just inform other drivers, it filled the entire cabin and gave your turns a beat to follow. You knew it was on, you felt it, heard it, and if you were driving with someone else, probably got teased if you forgot to turn it off. Some blinked fast, others slow, and occasionally they stuck, ticking away like a metronome in the dash. There was no subtlety. Every click meant something, and it was another way the car spoke to you. It was mechanical, rhythmic, and very real. Once you heard that final click and finished your turn, sometimes you just wanted to let the outside world in, and that meant cranking open the roof yourself. Number 14. Hand crank sunroofs or no sunroof at all. Long before sunroofs glided open with the touch of a button, there was the manual crank. You'd reach overhead, grab the handle, and rotate until the glass panel crept backward. It squeaked, it stuck. Sometimes it fought you all the way. But when it opened, you felt like you earned that breeze. The wind hit your face, the light poured in, and every mile felt just a little more alive. If your car didn't have one, you just rolled all the windows down and lived with it. There was no warning chime, no auto close, no automatic shade to slide across, just elbow grease, sunlight, and a car that made you work for the simple things. And maybe that's why it felt so rewarding. And the last one, number 15, pop-up headlights. The ultimate cool factor of 80s and 90s sports cars. Pop-up headlights were like winking at the world. With the flip of a switch, those sleek, aerodynamic lamps would rise from their hidden compartments. They weren't just lights. They were a statement. Sometimes they moved in unison. Sometimes one eye would get stuck half open, giving your car that perfect, sleepy look. Maintenance nightmare? Absolutely. But watching those lights pop up as you cruised down the strip was worth every penny. Modern safety regulations killed them off, but for those who experienced the magic of pop-ups, no flush-mounted LED will ever compare. They didn't just illuminate the road, they announced your arrival. And that concludes our list. 15 vintage car features that modern drivers just wouldn't understand. Which one did you grow up with? Drop your favorite old-school car memory in the comments. We'll be reading. Hit that like button if even one of these brought back the sound of turn signals or the smell of a vinyl bench seat. And don't forget to subscribe for more stories that only real drivers, the kind who crank their own windows, will truly get. See you in the next one.